This metaphor explains stress levels nicely. Simon goes on safari, and Simon's planning his safari, and he occasionally gets little butterflies, gets a little twinge in his gut when he thinks about the safari, and that's good, and that passes. The day comes, he turns up on safari, still very excited, nice and relaxed, standing at the entrance of the National Reserve with his armed guide, and he reads the sign at the gate that says there are free-ranging lions in this park. And his gut goes again, and he looks at the guide, and the guide says, "Don't worry, look at my gun. I'm trained. You'll be safe." And his gut settles again, but not quite to the level where it was. He's sharp and focused. Now it's not a game anymore. And he steps into the park, and they're walking for a little bit, and then he hears a roar in the distance. He looks at the guide again. His stomach's gone up a notch. This twinges, tightened. He's starting to feel stressed, and the guide says, "Don't worry, it's far away." And they keep walking, and he's looking around. He's enjoying the game walk, and the roar comes back. It's louder this time, and his gut goes again. The butterflies, the nerves. Now he's starting to get stressed. And the guide says, "Don't worry, it'll be fine." And he's starting to think, no, it won't. And his thoughts are going and going. And they come around the corner, and there are some vultures huddled over a fresh carcass, a fresh kill. And the guide says, "Lions, last night." And now Simon is properly stressed. He's overwhelmed. He's exceeded his tolerance. He is so sharp, so focused. Now every crack of a twig, every rustle of a leaf is dangerous to Simon, regardless of the fact that the guide is standing here right next to him. And as they come round another corner, they hear an almighty roar again, and Simon is up the tree, climbing, holding on for dear life. And he looks down at the guide still standing there, and the guide says to him, "Dude, that was an ostrich. Sounds just like a lion. It was an ostrich." And there comes the ostrich out from behind the rock. And he realizes there's no danger, and he comes down from the tree again. And they keep on walking. They finish the safari, but he's walking close to the guide. He ends up enjoying the safari. So in terms of stress levels, to illustrate it by that story, when we're planning something and we're a little bit nervous about it, we get this adrenaline and cortisol pop up in our body because we're thinking of stuff that's probably a little bit negative. That causes a feeling that triggers the hormones, right? Stress and adrenaline. So we're feeling a little bit, and a little bit of stress is perfect, keeps us sharp, keeps us focused. Now we're just in the planning phase, and then that settles again, and then we're at the entrance of the game park now, and we read the sign, and we realize, okay, look, there is real and present danger here. May or may not happen, but the adrenaline and the cortisol rises a little bit, not stressed yet, but just enough to keep you focused. And that's the perfect kind of place for us to be. When we're in the game park, when our thoughts start running, looping around, negative, 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 each negative thought is more adrenaline, more cortisol, then we exceed that sharp, focused, perfect stage, and we start to get a little bit stressed. We've got just a little bit too much adrenaline and cortisol in the body. We hear that roar again, our thoughts are going again, more stress. Now, real or imagined, we are designed to get a burst of adrenaline and cortisol to get our energy to respond to an emergency situation, and maybe climb up to the top of that tree and hold on for dear life until danger's passed, or until we realize that, it wasn't a real threat. It was a false alarm. Stress levels come down, so do you from the tree, and we can carry on. So that little metaphor hopefully just helps you to explain that there are good levels, and then there are intolerable levels of stress. The good levels of stress are right to keep you sharp and focused, but too much stress can cause an upset. So I'm Jake from Stressed Executive, helping people realize the difference between good stress and bad stress, and what they can do about it by addressing the stress to unwind the mind.